This is PTV World. I am Syed Shabahat Ali and you're watching Fault Lines. The situation in Afghanistan has not improved so far. There is no government in place as of now when we speak. In the last 1 week, there have been 2 incidences of bomb blasts. The first bomb blast that took place at the airport claimed 60 Afghan lives and the life of 12 American soldiers. The losses for the second bomb blast are still being counted. Amid all this turmoil, the United Kingdom has also decided to abandon its mission from today. And the reconciliation process is still going out without any deadlines in front of us. Amid all of this, the economic turmoil in Afghanistan has increased many times. All the people in the public sector stand technically unemployed as there is no government in place and no finances guaranteed by any body. Watch the package prepared by our team before we bring our first guest to the program.
It's an undeniable reality that out of all the foreign stakeholders in the Afghan quagmire, Pakistan was always the crucial party which played the unprecedented role in advancing its envisioned peaceful solution to the war. Acknowledging Islamabad's indispensable role in crafting sustainable future of war-ravaged Afghanistan, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham emphasized on Friday that Pakistan must be part of a sustainable solution to the conflict in Afghanistan. Despite multiple malicious attempts by notorious regional reprobate India to diplomatically isolate Pakistan, Islamabad's diplomatic charm offensive regarding Afghan endgame established it as a most consequential regional actor. New Delhi's obstructionist designs unraveled when it denied Pakistan an opportunity to speak at United Nations Security Council conference on Afghanistan twice during this month. India was a key supporter of the ousted regime in Kabul, and as both Pakistan and China become key players in the Taliban-ruled Afghanistan, New Delhi's strategic anxiety is increasing. The US and Pakistan, along with China and Russia, sat together in the extended Troika in Doha only weeks ago to consider plans put forward for Afghanistan's High Council for National Reconciliation. The Troika collectively agreed that an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned process was the only way forward for lasting peace and stability in Afghanistan. This contractual consensus offers a blueprint that can guide the continued engagement of key regional players with an inclusive transitional government to ensure that political negotiations between the Taliban and their factions do not end in an impasse. The emergence of ISKP as a formidable security threat emanating from Afghanistan necessitates increased collaboration of all stakeholders to prevent the group fomenting instability in the region. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi recently concluded a 4-nation tour of Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and Iran to hold dialogues with regional leadership surrounding Afghanistan. Afghanistan will remain a frontline state for Washington and other powers for the foreseeable future in terms of the potential threats to regional and global peace from terror proxies.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed any further, we'll take a break and join you back right after that. Stay with us.
passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Shandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Shandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Shandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
Pakistan is playing an imperative role in bringing the Afghan peace process together. At the same time, Pakistan's mission in the United Nations is doing best of its effort to bring all the respective stakeholders together and to create a cohesion for the peace process. I'm joined by Pakistan's ambassador in the United Nations, Ambassador Munir Akram, who's Pakistan's permanent representative in the United Nations and has very kindly agreed to be in our program. Ambassador Saab, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Seitan.
Ambassador Saab, I was seeing a news item that states that Pakistan has been declined to speak at United Nations Security Council. That was done recently in the last week, and you have also submitted your protest. Tell me more about this development.
Well, India is presiding over the Security Council this month, and India obviously has misused its presidency in order to deny Pakistan a possibility of speaking in the Security Council. It has misused the rules of procedure, and we have protested and exposed India's partisan position. Nevertheless, Pakistan has been able to express its point of view outside the Security Council to the international media, and our voice is well heard and well understood. And we are continuing to play a part in the Security Council discussions through our friends, as well as directly through the international media.
I was reading a news item and it stated you and I'm going to read it from here. You said that Pakistan is especially concerned at the support being provided to Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Jamaat-ul-Ahrar by a third country. You also said, so the shoe is now in the other foot. Tell me more about it. I mean, this is a very strong statement you are giving at this mission in the United Nations.
Thank you, Saisab. I can be stronger. There are 3,000 to 6,000 TTP terrorists which have been supported by the National Security Agency of the former Ghani government. And it was collaborating with the sponsorship of the Indian intelligence agencies in financing, supporting, organizing terrorist attacks against Pakistan, Pakistani soldiers, and Pakistani civilians from across the border in Afghanistan, where they had been given safe havens. And this is our top priority of trying to stop this terrorism, and we will be making urgent efforts with the new authorities in Kabul in order to put a stop to the terrorism that was taking place against Pakistan with Afghan intelligence and Indian intelligence support.
And Ambassador Saab, you had also submitted a dossier in United Nations wherein you had provided all these evidences in a document to United Nations and had also requested for the support from United Nations General Assembly about these evidence of involvement of India in sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan. What happened to that dossier? Have we heard back from the United Nations on that?
Well, the dossier was shared with the Secretary General. It was shared with the Security Council's monitoring team. I had submitted a formal letter to the chairman of the Counterterrorism Committee. It's called the 1267 Committee. It was circulated, and there was a proposal to discuss it. And India has blocked that proposal for discussion in the Security Council, since it is a member of the Security Council, and there usually has to be a consensus for discussion of a complaint. India has blocked it and has revealed its hand that it is obviously one of the sponsors of that terrorism, and that is why it has blocked its discussion.
Ambassador Saab, how the other countries around Afghanistan, including Iran, including Russia, including Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and other regional players like China, like Turkey, are seeing the role that Pakistan is playing in this diplomatic process that is being steered by our embassy as well as our foreign office here in Islamabad? How satisfied, because you are interacting with their representatives more frequently, I assume, what is the feeler there in the United Nations among these nations that I have just listed out?
I think it is well recognized that Pakistan has very important stakes in the stabilization of Afghanistan. And secondly, that we have played a very helpful and positive role in facilitating the talks that took place over the last 2 years in Doha. At every step, our help was sought, and we had provided our help in bringing the parties together, bringing the US and Taliban together, bringing the Afghan parties together, and making progress in those talks. Of course, things have now evolved, and a new situation has arisen, and everybody recognizes that Pakistan has an important role, both with regard to the current humanitarian situation, the issue of evacuations, the issue of humanitarian help, where we have established a land and air corridor for helping Afghanistan. We are also engaged very actively in the diplomacy with regard to the formation of the inclusive government. Our foreign minister has been to all the regional countries to consult them about next steps. We have a large stake, as I said, on stopping terrorism from Afghanistan. So yes, our role is very big. We are part of the extended troika, which groups the US, Russia, China, and Pakistan. This is a core group which has been in the center of the discussions and negotiations, and will continue to have an important role in the process going forward. We are very closely in touch with all the Security Council members as we speak. The Security Council consultations on another draft resolutions are taking place. We are in very close touch. We have contributed to those discussions. So yes, Pakistan is a central player. We are a key neighbor of Afghanistan, and we have a close historical relationship with Afghanistan. Peace in Afghanistan means peace in Pakistan, and vice versa. So we will continue to play a very active and interested role in the developments as they unfold in Afghanistan.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Sahab, for being a guest in my show. It's such an honor to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break and join back with the second segment of the program. Stay with us. Welcome back. To join me in the second segment of my program is Syed Muhammad Ali, his director, CAS, a famous institute in Islamabad and a very frequent guest in my program. Muhammad Ali, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Ali, can you tell me about this peace process going on? We are not hearing back any major development, any major statement is not coming from either of the stakeholders. Initially, we are under the impression that Taliban are trying to bring in more and more ethnicities in the formation of a government that is overarching and that has a representation by all the ethnicities or all the major shareholders in the power, but it has not happened as yet. Can you tell us what is exactly happening behind the curtain?
Thank you so much. I think the process is complex and delicate, but it is definitely moving forward in a somewhat positive but complex direction. I think for the benefit of your viewers, I think there are three scenarios that I can briefly present. First is an optimistic scenario that you will see a smooth transition of power. There will be immediate political reconciliation. The conflict will end in all parts of Afghanistan, followed by international recognition and a foreign investment to allow the new administration to govern and rule the country in a normal manner. That's an optimistic scenario, obviously. A pessimistic scenario would be that the spoilers would be helped by those countries which have a vested interest in creating chaos in this country. And this will lead to a civil war which will be harmful for this country and the region. But between these two extreme alternatives based on optimistic and pessimistic scenarios, one scenario which I think is more realistic and pragmatic is what I want to discuss in detail. I think realistically we will see some short-term turbulence, but it will likely yield a gradual process of stabilization. But when I say stabilization, it essentially the one rank and file.
Ali, your words are breaking. Can you repeat last few lines? It just broke in the middle.
Yeah, I was just saying that the gradual process of stabilization requires 5 very key elements. The first thing, which is the most important aspect for Afghan Taliban, is to maintain the loyalty and unity of their own rank and file, without which they cannot be expected to maintain their writ. Secondly, they should be able to ensure that the entire territory of Afghanistan is in their control. The third aspect is obviously, as you rightly pointed out, the successful process of political reconciliation. And the fourth aspect is the incentives, what it will provide and offer to the other community leaders with whom they are engaged with. And fifth element is the international diplomatic recognition, without which it will be very difficult for them to be removed from the UN and US sanctioned list and attract foreign investment, without which governing Afghanistan as a normal, stable nation state will be difficult for them. So that's the most likely scenario that I can see.
So Ali, where have they reached in the process so far? I mean, have some major developments been done? Have they agreed to some extent on the power sharing? Or, I mean, we are talking theoretically, but what is the development that has happened in last, say, 1 week or less?
I think that in reality, the situation is unfolding practically every hour. And I think there are some deals which have been made in the background, but I think the Afghan Taliban are waiting for the complete withdrawal of all foreign forces, because for them it will be politically costly, and they are waiting till the time that they can declare their victory and claim that they have restored the sovereignty and independence of Afghanistan from foreign occupation. And this is what they need, because this will also lead to, the weakening of any other stakeholders which might still harbor some hope for some external support. So some deals are being made, and as you are aware, Afghan Taliban are reaching out to all the other community leaders, all the other leaders like Abdullah, like other leaders as well. And so it is an important process. They are also simultaneously engaged with the leadership of other countries, international leadership, and regional leadership. So, but what is the most important thing is for the domestic stakeholders, that what specific incentives will they offer? Will they offer some accommodation? The litmus test will be, will it be offered at the central level or will it be offered at the community level? There are two possibilities. One is that, which is less likely, that the other community leaders will be accommodated at the center. What is more likely is that they may be allowed some sort of federation level recognition at their own communities and within their own provinces, but they will be expected to recognize the sovereignty of the new administration in Kabul, use their currency, and respect their flag. And so it will be like a loose federation, which is more likely. However, it is very unlikely that they will compromise on their ideological narrative and stance, because the unity of their own rank and file depends that once they have seized power, they cannot be expected to show compromise or flexibility on their ideological stance.
Noted, Ali. Ali, noted. I'll cut you here, and please stay online with us, because we are now joined by Abdul Karim Fazil. He is Director Shamshad TV based in Kabul. And let's hear from him what is happening in Kabul at the moment. Welcome to the program, Abdul Karim.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Karim, what is the situation in Kabul city where you are based at the moment? What is happening? There is another bomb blast we have heard of. How the life is going on in Kabul at the moment? What's the environment?
There was a drone strike on a house in Kabul where one male and six people were killed and 4 children wounded. The current situation in Kabul is that everyone is getting on with their normal life, but the biggest issue that everyone is facing daily is the financial crisis. All the banks are closed. People are not able to take any money out. They're afraid of what's going to happen in the future. So it's pretty mixed kind of feeling. Some people are happy that for a couple of days when the Taliban came in, that there was a peace and no more people would be getting killed. But then again, from a few days, the blast has started scaring people again on what's happening.
But Kareem, there was a lot of speculation when Taliban were not there in the capital, many people were saying they'll come, they'll start brutally killing people, they'll start, doing a lot of things that are not generally acceptable in a human society. What they have done, what we see over the screen, is pretty contrary to it. Has it brought down the fear factor to some extent in the city of Kabul?
The biggest issue is that they have not done anything to anyone yet. So the scary thing is that people are afraid of in the 90s, in 1990s when they were in power. At that time, the name is still there, so people are scared of what happened in the past might be repeated again. So I think it's the fear from the past scaring the people rather than what the Taliban are doing or what they're not doing.
Coming back to you, Ali, while most of the diplomatic missions based in Kabul have abandoned or are not operating at the moment, Pakistan's diplomatic mission, Pakistan's embassy in Kabul, is aptly working to engage maximum stakeholders in the peace process. Even today, we had invited the ambassador to be in our program, but he sent us a message saying that he's involved, and it's a very important meeting. Tell me what Pakistan is doing, what Pakistan is trying to achieve in Kabul with its diplomatic mission at the moment.
Pakistan's diplomatic role right now in this very critical situation is pivotal. And it is not restricted to only Kabul. For the benefit of your viewers, let me tell you, Pakistan is leading and is spearheading the global regional diplomacy as well as the intra-Afghan process. And as Ambassador Munir Akram earlier pointed out, also at the global level as part of the Troika Plus. So if you see, at all levels, Pakistan's role is pivotal. At the global level, you must notice that Pakistan is the only country which is not a permanent member of the Security Council, which is member of the Troika Plus arrangement, which includes China, US, and Russia. So if the new Afghan administration expects some review of the UN sanctioned list and some international recognition, then that would be the critical forum at the global level. The second is the regional level, and you are aware that our foreign minister recently led a very timely diplomatic initiative in which he visited all the neighbors of Afghanistan and in order to convince them that they also need to play a very important regional role and exercise their leverage in respective constituencies and communities within Afghanistan to achieve peace. The third level, as I pointed out, is within Kabul. And our ambassador, our learned ambassador, Mr. Mansoor, is very active. He's engaged with all the Western countries and their counterparts, and also with all the Afghan stakeholders, be it Afghan Taliban, be it Abdullah, be it other leaders as well. So, and the fourth level, as you recall, recently the leaders of other communities also recently visited Islamabad. So that indicates that not just Pakistan, but everybody who is interested or relevant to the Afghan peace process expects Pakistan to play a leading role. So that is why I think, frankly speaking, we should not shy about this fact that this entire diplomatic process at the global, regional, and domestic levels is being led by Pakistan, and hopefully it will yield some tangible results in a few days' time when Afghan Taliban will announce their government. One hopes that they will show some flexibility and accommodation because they also realize that they need international recognition because the COVID situation, the economic crisis that they face, the internally displaced people, it is not about conquest. It is about their ability to convert their conquest into a stable, well-governed rule. And they need the help of international community and the regional players to be able to achieve that, without which they will not be able to govern Afghanistan well and live up to the expectations of the Afghan people.
Coming back to you, Abdul Karim, what do you think is about to happen? What are the expectations of the people living in Afghanistan from this entire political process that is taking place? What are the hopes in the country at the moment?
Well, in Afghanistan, everyone wants peace, and so currently they are looking at the Taliban and the previous government officials like Hamid Karzai and Dr. Abdullah for them to bring a way or find a way to bring peace into Afghanistan by being the middle people. They're speaking to Taliban and talking to people in Panjshir regarding this, that we need to stop fighting the bloodshed in Afghanistan. Let's sit down together and talk by peace and together bring interim government and that's what the Afghan people deserve. So everyone's trying to bring peace into the Afghanistan by sitting together. So I think currently all the hopes are for the Panjshir to sit down with the Taliban and Hamid Karzai and Dr. Abdullah in bringing a peaceful solution to Afghanistan so they can work together.
Okay, coming back to you, Ali. So, as you just heard, Abdul Karim has very high hopes, like millions of other Afghans, from the process that's going on. I have a pertinent question for you. Seeing your expertise in the strategic matters, and particularly the matters related to terrorism and counter-terrorism in this region, who do you think is actually being the bad guy in Afghanistan? Now, when Taliban have control of the city, who can be the beneficiary of these terror attacks in the city and killing innocent people? What do you think is happening? Because we just had, a border skirmish where the insurgents just raided and hit fires inside Pakistani border. We are also having these back-to-back explosions in the city. Who do you think is behind it? Do you agree with the American version of the narration where they have said ISISK is now the bad guy and everyone has to be behind them?
I think, Shabahat, frankly speaking, you would agree that in all practical reality, no non-state actor can survive without some support. So whether it is ISIS or Daesh, they have been operating in ungoverned spaces while 42 countries deployed their military forces here. So that is a fact that no one can deny. So if we try to deconstruct that fact, then we will realize that who is it who is most worried and the biggest loser with the change in the political and security dynamics of Afghanistan. I think the country which lost most space and immediately recognized that its days are numbered in Afghanistan was India. It was one of the first countries to pull out its, its diplomats, its workers, its agents, and its handlers of different organizations ranging from ISIS to TTP to BLA to BLF. So as a Pakistani, I see this as a positive geostrategic development in terms of securing our Western front. However, what we are witnessing right now are the panic attacks by those rogue elements within the Afghan National Security Forces, which were funded, trained, equipped, motivated by their Indian handlers. Now they are resorting to these attacks, and I'm sure with the passage of time, as the new government takes charge, they will take some time, but they will be able to surmount this challenge and take care of them. However, it is very important for the regional countries to also ensure that they do not interfere in the internal dynamics of Afghanistan and resist the temptation of again providing their own respective constituencies, weapons and other things, which will again fuel a civil war, which we all realize is not in the benefit of this entire region. So that's why our diplomacy neighbors of Afghanistan is very critical at this time, that we have a common interest in restoring peace, security and stability in Afghanistan, because without that, it will be very difficult for Pakistan as well to transcend and transform its geopolitical based foreign policy into a geoeconomic foreign policy which allows us to benefit from regional connectivity. But it's a win-win situation, and otherwise it will become a lose-lose situation. We must tell all our friends in this region that it's not a zero-sum game. We all sink and swim together, and we all must move beyond the historical baggage and biases and contribute towards stabilizing Afghanistan. Because this region has suffered and has been denied the opportunities that it badly needs in order to develop itself.
Coming back to you, Abdul Kareem. So while there is no government in position in Afghanistan, I'm sure that there is no financial regulation. There is no financial regulatory bodies that are working as well. You were telling us about the banks that are halted. Tell us about this economic crunch into the country and how is it affecting life of the people on a day-to-day basis?
Well, because of the banks and everything being closed and lack of jobs and lack of money and everything, the public are in panic. That's the main reason they're running away. In every means they can find, they won't leave the country. Currently, the trade from all different provinces is currently closed. The economy, all the prices, everything has increased. So people cannot afford it. They're instead selling their households in the market in order to get some food.
And you don't see this breaking at any stage, because there is nothing happening on the financial front so far. There is no government, there are no bodies, there are no international bodies providing any money to Afghans at the moment. So you see this crisis going on further?
Yeah, since if the Taliban and the interim government, they need to come up with a solution to announce a leadership. Otherwise, this will get worse and worse day by day. I mean, every day you see so many people going to the airport trying to leave, even though there have been attacks by ISIS-K. Still, people prefer going there rather than sitting at home and waiting to die without food and being hungry for the sake of their children.
Very sad state of affairs in Afghanistan. Ali, coming back to you, so very rightly pointed out the role of India in sponsoring terrorism inside Pakistan, operating training camps for TTP, operating hideouts for Baloch Liberation Army, providing finances and operating all these offices distributing cash. Pakistan had already submitted a dossier in the United Nations that we were speaking about in the first segment of the program. So all of this investment has apparently gone immediately down the drain, Ali. Do you feel sorry for our neighbors? They had invested billions of dollars in all this process, and apparently they have hold of nothing in Afghanistan today.
Shubhat, I feel as a Pakistani relieved, perhaps for the first time in our 74-year-old history, that perhaps now I see a hope that we will be able to gradually secure our Western front. Because geopolitically, India has attempted to create a classical two-front situation for Pakistan in order to divert our attention and strategic capabilities. So it is very important for Pakistan. I see in terms of the strategic environment, it's a positive development that the Indian influence and its ability to use the ungoverned spaces of Afghanistan to the detriment of Pakistan's security has seriously diminished. And one hopes, and also Pakistan has been urging the Afghan Taliban that in future we expect them to live up to our expectations and walk the talk, that they will ensure that their territory is not used by any elements against the interests of Pakistan, be it TTP, be it ISIS, be it BLA, be it BLF. So it is very important. And also the other neighbors have similar expectations from the new administration. But the most critical challenge for the new administration, as our colleague rightly pointed out, will be not just security, but also governance. And as a Pakistani and as a student of history, let me share with you, frankly, that hopefully in terms of security environment, unfortunately, Afghanistan in its entire history has never been governed properly, irrespective of whoever was in power. So this time, the challenge is twofold. One, because of their ideology, they have, they have to prove the world, especially the West, wrong, that their ideology is compatible with good governance. That's a huge challenge. Secondly, they have to take all the other communities who do not share their way of life and worldview together. If they can do these two things, I think the regional countries and emerging and resurgent powers like China and Russia will also come to their assistance, because they cannot allow this country again to return to chaos, which can fuel further insurgencies and terrorism against their territories and against their interests. So it is in the interest of China and Russia as well to see this as an opportunity to promote their interests in terms of stabilizing and security.
Very rightly pointed out, Ali. Very rightly pointed out. I'm sorry, we are short of time. Thank you very much, Syed Muhammad Ali. Thank you very much, Abdul Kareem Fazil, for being my guest in the program. Ladies and gentlemen, famous English writer and novelist Herbert George Wells once wrote, "If we do not end war, war will end us." And this is what precisely is happening in Afghanistan. We are fortunate to see a lot of maturity in the political leadership of this country, perhaps for the first time. Let's keep our finger crossed and let's wish best of luck for Afghan leadership. And may Allah help them to steer Afghanistan out of the quagmire of crisis. We'll join you next week with another program. And until then, Allah Hafiz.